Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Sunday, December 5th, 2021. This is my newest segment of Markets and Look Ahead, people. A lot of stuff to talk about. So let's do that. First of all, I want to start off with this. One day, I'm going to take a snapshot of my email box, and it's mind-blowing from time to time. So we understand that over the weekend we had some pretty extreme volatility in the crypto space. Bitcoin took a reasonably large hit, pulling the rest of the cryptocurrencies down with it. Bitcoin's back around 50,000 right now. It's so crazy to me. We've seen this before, people. How many times have you heard me say, well, the crypto space is volatile and we should expect extreme swings from time to time? That's all we're seeing here. I know a lot of you, maybe you're worried about it, but let's put that into perspective too. If you are a person out here that, like myself, for example, that is holding or acquiring Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, why are you doing it? For me, I'm going to tell you why Greg Mannarino is a Bitcoin bull, a cryptocurrency bull, regardless of the volatility that we see over and over again. Greg Mannarino, I don't know why I do this, people, but I talk about myself all the time in the third person. Because I realize the global situation, what central banks are doing here. They're going to continue to inflate beyond belief moving forward. And I've said to you, we haven't seen anything yet. We have to talk about that too, moving down the line here in this particular video. So understanding that central banks collectively are on a mission to inflate, what do you want to do? What kind of action should you be taking? Obviously, you need to be in hard assets, okay? I will never change my perspective on that, in case you're wondering. With regard to physical gold, more importantly, physical silver, I'm going to stand by what I've said since forever now. Literally since forever. That is, bet against the debt, become your own central bank, and hoard these things, especially silver. To me, physical silver is the most undervalued asset on the planet right now, period, okay? So understanding that we are in a hyper bubble in debt, it's no secret, and I'm not the only guy talking about it, okay? It's not going to stop. If you believe for a nanosecond that central banks are not going to continue to inflate on a massive scale, then you don't understand what's really going on. Their goal is to inflate. I've told you they're going to inflate some more, creating a monster in the debt market, hyperinflating a stock market bubble, creating distortions across the spectrum of asset classes. How many times have you heard me tell you that there is not one single asset today that has a real price discovery mechanism? What do I mean by price discovery? I mean where the market itself is setting fair value. When you have central banks collectively, none more so than the Fed, why? See, the Federal Reserve is in full control of the world reserve currency, the US dollar, okay? And they manipulate debt, the dollar being a unit of debt, every single day. That's all they do. Now, understanding that central banks around the world, again, none more so than the Fed, has chosen to target the debt market, which is the driver behind everything. Again, the stock market itself is a derivative. It's a derivative, meaning it derives value from what is happening in the debt market. All right? We'll talk more about that in a moment too. Understanding that makes it very clear to me, at least, and I'm hoping to you, why we need to be taking the opposite side of that trade. They're going to continue to inflate, hyperinflate. There's no doubt about that. And we, at least I hope, are on the same page. There's no end in sight. Regardless of surging inflation, we're going to talk more about that too. I was writing some stuff down this morning as I'm having my First cup of coffee. I need another one. Anyway, understanding that mechanism, then it's not going to stop. It's only going to increase moving forward, okay? Things are going to be created out of thin air. Reasons to continue to borrow, okay? And we all know that too. So understanding that mechanism makes it at least clear to me, and again, I hope to you, why we need to be betting against this debt, becoming our own central bank, getting out of fiat currencies. Every fiat currency in the world, okay, well, let's stick to the US dollar. It's the world reserve. Okay, well, they have one thing in common. That is, they are issued by a central bank. Okay, they control it. It's not even yours. Every dollar, every fiat bill that you either have a physical form of or exist in digital form, it's not yours. It's owned by the issuing central bank. It's owed back to the issuing central bank plus interest that they create out of thin air. Like it's a magic trick. So to me, looking at the volatility in the crypto market, seeing what's going on here with precious metals, you got JP Morgan, who is, people, the largest rigger of precious metals on the planet Earth. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. You talk to a guy or a girl on Wall Street, they're going to tell you who's rigging the metals market. The commodities exchange is well aware of this. It's not going to stop. They continue to get caught over and over and over again. They pay a fine over and over again. It's baked into the cake. They're spoofing the markets. We all know this. It's everywhere. It's common knowledge, but nothing happens because they're too powerful. So understanding that, you have, and it's not just JP Morgan, but JP Morgan is the biggest rigger of precious metals. Rigging the metals market, well, you got to take advantage of that. With regard to cryptocurrencies and volatility, you need to expect it, okay? And of course, you got all the anti-crypto people out here, even writing to me like this morning and over the whole weekend, oh, Greg, it's going to zero. I've been hearing the same thing since I started telling people to buy Bitcoin at around $3,000. We're now at $50,000. People, I told you to buy Bitcoin at what? Around 3,000. It was actually around 2,700. Then at 5,000. Then at 10,000. Then at 15,000. I told you to buy it again at 41,000. Even if you bought it at 41,000, you're doing pretty good. Okay. In my view, it's going higher. Cryptos in aggregate are going higher. Again, why? These things, you own them. Okay. They're not issued by a central bank. They're not owed back to a central bank plus interest that they create out of thin air. There's where the value exists. For those of you that can't see it, you want to stay in the dollar? Good luck to you. You can see what's happening to the dollar. Just look around you. Surging inflation is not going to stop. Expect that to get much worse. We need to talk about that too. I'm telling you, I'm writing all this stuff down this morning. It's popping into my head. So I think we are in the right spots. Okay, with regard to the stock market, people, I've kept all of you on the right side of this for a very, very long time as well. And I'm going to continue to do that moving forward if you allow me to. If you want to go out there and listen to all the, the crash maniacs out here that keep calling for a crash every single week, they've been wrong 100% of the time. 100%. Am I right all the time? No, I'm not right all the time about whatever I'm talking about. But for the most part, let's be honest. Over 90%? Would you say Greg Mannarino has an over 90% rate of being correct? Yeah, it's pretty damn high. It's astonishing to me sometimes, really. But it's not hard to understand. And I know you get it. If you've been with me any length of time, you realize what is going on around you. And like I always tell you, nothing is what it seems to be. If you understand that concept and you can focus on why you're doing what you're doing, why, for example, you are a stacker of precious metals. I can't stress to you again. I love gold. You know I do. But silver to me remains the most undervalued asset ever at this particular time. You can look at, and how you can gauge the actual value, let's say, of silver, okay? You want to look at a couple of things, and you can just, go on one of your search engines. Look at the Dow gold ratio and the gold silver ratio. If you just look up those things, there's a little homework for you. If you just look up these things, you will see why I am telling you forever now that silver is the most undervalued asset in the history of the world. With regard to cryptos and Bitcoin, I understand that space is not for everyone, believe me. Okay, some people can't handle the volatility, and that's okay. It's not, look, trading, investing is literally not for everybody. You got to be a little nuts, I think, but you also have to understand, again, why you're doing it. Why? Why am I doing this? And I think it should be clear to you. If you're one of my lions, you're sitting back here probably foaming at the mouth, looking at the drop in cryptocurrencies recently. With regard to precious metals, if you're a stacker, you love seeing it drop because you understand what you're doing. You're holding this stuff for the long haul because you clearly understand central banks are not done by a long shot with regard to inflating. And all the talk to the contrary is just all propaganda, people. All right, let us move forward here. So despite this volatility in the stock market that we've had recently, we've had some interesting swings, nothing major. We're still not far off of new record highs in this market. To me, okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here. It appears that this market is setting up for a rally moving into the end of this month. I would continue to buy the dips, people. I've been explaining to you to buy the dips in everything, for quite a long time. It should be obvious to you why. Not only do we have central banks buying everything, we have institutions buying the dips. We have hedge funds in here buying the dips too. And all the nonsense talk about insiders selling their stock, how many times have we heard this? And how many times has the market gone higher? It's one of those phenomenons that we see all the time. So forget about it, because I had people writing to me like, you can't believe, oh, Greg, so-and-so is, unloading X amount of stock and this person's doing the same thing. That means we got to get out of the market. It does not mean that. As a matter of fact, I think it means the polar opposite. Okay? From my experience in this market, which is extensive, and I studied it all the time. Well, listen, you think there's a moment during the day that I don't think about this market and how twisted it is? How do you think I stay on top of it? How do you think I keep you ahead of the curve? By being immersed in this thing 24/7. Let us move forward here, people. So we understand the propaganda ministry, all the fear, making you afraid of whatever they can do, and that's exactly what is going on. That has been adding to the volatility in the market. So this morning, I just happened to flip on Bloomberg, and they had former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers on. I don't know what your perspective is on Larry Summers. I happen to think he is a liar of the highest order. Okay. Now, this is what, keep this in mind, okay? Former Treasury Secretary, this is what he said. It is a real possibility, I was writing this down, that COVID is not transient, and we need more capacity to get jabs into arms. Okay. He's towing the line. If he were out here on YouTube and said the polar opposite, well, they'd take him down. He is obviously pushing an agenda here. I think we're well aware of that. There is something obviously much more to this without me going into any length of conversation, because if I do that, they won't publish this video. They'll take it down. I'll get another strike against my channel. But I think you will understand where we're going with this entire thing. They don't care if you're immune or anything else. They just want that, in his words, jabs into arms. Okay, lovely. What else is going on here? Okay, we got the Federal Reserve, who has now completely switched gears from inflation is transitory to it's not transitory. Now, if we recall, just last week we had Fed Chair Yellowstone Powell. He was out there sounding the alarm, people, sounding the alarm on inflation. And he goes on to say that inflation will persist at least through next year. Okay. Now you and me knew from day one, it was dog shit. Okay. They were pushing the fake narrative of transitory inflation because they didn't want, and they can never allow people to know the truth. All right. But I told you since day one, I went ballistic on it. And I'm still, in that camp. I'm telling you, there is no way that inflation is not going to continue to surge higher. It's their mission to continue to inflate. People, I'm going to say it again. Federal Reserve is dollarizing the world effectively. They are funneling dollars around the world to central banks around the world who are buying assets with the dollars, not their own currency. Central bank XYZ may have their own currency, fiat currency they're creating out of thin air. But the Federal Reserve is sending them trillions of dollars around the world for which they are buying assets with the dollars. The effect of that is very simple. Not only do we have the Federal Reserve that continues to create dollars out of thin air and buy epic sums of debt with it, they're funneling dollars around the world. We're seeing the effects of that right now in surging inflation. The inflation doors have been open. And I told you once this happened, there's no way to stop it. Okay? Actually, the inflation doors have been open a very long time ago. I told you the Fed is on a mission here. They're creating all this cash out of thin air. These bills are floating around the world in any form they may exist. At one point, they were going to start chasing the same amount of goods. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. This is economics 101. Okay? And once that happens, you can't stop it without dramatic, and I mean dramatic countermeasures against it. That would mean if the Fed really wanted to stop rising inflation, and that's not their goal. Their goal is to continue to inflate. Their goal is to continue to create inflation and wipe out the middle class. I mean, we were in the middle of what I said would happen from a decade ago, a two-tier society, extreme haves, extreme have-nots, a wipeout of an entire class of people on a global scale. This is the truth. They're going to continue to inflate. You're going to continue to see more inflation. So when you hear, for example, a Fed president tell you that they are concerned about inflation, that inflationary pressures are getting out of control, this is exactly what they want. For example, did they tell you the truth with regard to it being transitory? No. They knew it wasn't going to be. They've been on a mission to create exactly what we're seeing right now, and they're not done. They're not done by a long shot. They're going to continue to buy assets. They're going to continue to suppress rates from here to eternity. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? If you know for a fact, all right, where's the proof? Look at the Fed's balance sheet. You know what I'm going to do? Just thought of this. It's brilliant. What do I tell you, hey, if you just know where to look, things become clear to you. Okay, with regard to market risk, the MMRI, at the close of trading on Friday, dropped to around 80. We had some kind of weird spike in the MMRI on Friday. I don't know how many of you caught it. It went to like 91. And then I was looking at it. I was like, well, what's going on? Then all of a sudden, by the end of the day, it cratered to 80. Okay, I don't like it above 90. You all know that. But we're at 80 right now. That means risk in this market is dropping. The entire yield curve, as I have covered for you, it's flattening out. Okay, a clear sign that our economy is in a lot of trouble. But no, we're booming. It's fantastic and it's tremendous. You know that. Well, ex-President Bidenstein, he'll tell you that. Every president's going to tell you the same dog shit line. They must lie to you. You have no representation anymore. You know that. It's the central banks running the entire show. Period. The freaking end. What else did I write down here, people? Yeah, with regard to the yield curve, keep your eyes on that yield curve. Now, here's my epiphany that I just had a moment ago. I want you to start looking at the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. Now, understand. The Federal Reserve, like every major corporation, has two balance sheets. What do I mean by that? That is the cash that is currently on their books. All right. Now, the Federal Reserve, being a private entity, a private corporation, also has two balance sheets. One that you're not allowed to see. No one's allowed to see, not even the President of the United States. It's off limits. Then there's the one that they allow us to see. I am going to place a link to the Federal Reserve's balance sheet directly in the description of this video. If you want to know what the Fed is doing, they can say whatever they want to, all right? We need to watch the Fed's balance sheet. Is that actually real? No, it's not real either. But we can at least have an idea of what's going on here. So watch the Fed's balance sheet right now. Understand that right now, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet is larger than the GDP of most countries on Earth. Do you think that's by accident? Do you think that the Federal Reserve now holding all of this on their balance sheet is by accident? I've told you that that's their end game, to be the lender and buyer of last resort, to own it all. And that's what they're doing, people. Watch the Fed's balance sheet. Again, link in the description of this video. Keep your eyes on crude oil, people. We know the game, how they're playing the game. They're going to prop it up. I don't like it here. I still think it's in the death zone. When crude oil gets to this level, people die. It's that simple. Terrorist attacks, bombings, military strikes, whatever they got to do to keep crude propped up. That's what they're going to do. It's the lifeblood of the market. It's the lifeblood of the military-industrial complex. Investment banks are leveraged beyond their eyeballs in crude oil, so that's just that whole thing. Anyway, people, This video is getting kind of long. Wow. That's the story. I've covered a lot with you. So what's the takeaway here from this video? With regard to cryptocurrencies, volatility is the name of the game. I told all of you, and I've been saying for a few weeks, expect a breakout to the upside, to the downside. It looks like we broke out to the downside, but we'll see what happens here. Good. They're going to play their games across the board with regard to the markets. If people are going to look at the volatility in the crypto space and not realize what they're seeing, well, that's too bad for them. To me, it's going to remain a buying opportunity. I will remain a crypto bull. All right. I am not a trader of cryptocurrencies. You all know that. I do not trade it. It's above my pay grade. I'm going to be honest with you. I am an equity derivatives trader. That's something I think I'm relatively good at. I've been doing it a long time. I've been keeping you all on the right side of this market. I've told you how to take advantage of it. With regard to the stock market, yes, continue to buy the dips. You should be in large cap dividend paying stocks for the most part. Recently, I put out kind of I don't want to say an alert, but I told people to start looking who subscribe to my newsletter at the financial ETF, XLF. I think it's going a lot higher. Starting tomorrow, as a matter of fact, if you are a subscriber to my newsletter, a link in the description of this video, it's 100% free. I'm going to start sending out suggestions. Okay, you all know I got in trouble with the SEC. I think most of you do know that. Somebody out here reported me saying I was front-running stocks. It was reported to the SEC that Greg Mannarino is putting out specific stock suggestions. I'm referring to options, plays, which I was doing. And people said, oh, Greg is front-running the market. He's jumping in behind the trade or in front of the trade, as in front-running. And, you know, obviously, nothing happened to me. You all know that too. But I have to be careful here, all right, with what I do. So I am going to, starting tomorrow, put out some suggestions as to what you should be looking at. If you're a trader, if you're a lion, I would suggest subscribing to my free newsletter. If you have not, again, link in the description of this video. Keep your eyes on the Fed's balance sheet, crude oil, the yield curve, the relative dollar strength, all this stuff, the MMRI, people, which is the greatest, in my opinion, market risk indicator that's been created in the last, I don't know, century. Okay, I haven't seen a better one. And that you can find right on my website as well. Link in the description of this video. All this stuff is free. All of it, all right? I got your back, okay? Greg Mannarino has got your back. I promise you that. I know you got mine, so I got yours in return. All right, look, I'm going to end this video. It's awfully long. I could continue to go on and on and on and on. Love you a lot. Share the video. Let me know what you think about what I spoke about here. What did I get right and what did I get wrong? I'm not too old or too stubborn to learn anything. So maybe you guys and girls want to help me out. What did I get this wrong? Am I saying anything that's so outrageous? Am I saying anything that doesn't make sense? What have I said here that does not make sense to you? Or does it make perfect sense? All right? All right. I'm out of here. See you in the morning.